Alright, so this is a 2004 Pajero Mini. This particular model is a K car, so it has a 660cc turbocharged 3-cylinder? We'll double check. I think it's a 3-cylinder, but we'll find out when we have a look in the engine bay. We've had this car for about 8 months. We bought it when we first moved to Japan back in March this year, and we're selling it because we're leaving Japan again. It's a auto, but it also has another shifter down here to change between four-wheel drive low, four-wheel drive high, and two-wheel drive high. So most of the time it'll spend the majority of its life in two-wheel drive high. Obviously, if you're going off-road, depending on what you're doing, you'd switch it into four-wheel drive high or four-wheel drive low if you're going real slow up some creepy crawly runs. Some features, I mean, it's pretty basic. I don't know what you would describe as a feature apart from the fact that it's quite compact and the back seats fold down. It's got a turbocharged engine, which is pretty cool. It's got a tiny little turbo in there. It's pretty basic, I suppose. There's not that many features to speak of. I don't particularly like the transmission that much. So well, not the transmission, but the shifter's a bit shit, to be honest. So I'll just crank her on. It's a bit, it doesn't like clicking into gear very well. I'd like it to be a bit more concrete when it fits in there, but it's a bit undesirable, but not that bad. There's also an overdrive button here, so obviously you want to turn that on when you go on the highway, otherwise the car sounds like it's going to explode. She's done 85,000 Ks. I think when we got it, it had about 75,000 on it, so I've done about 10,000 Ks. Haven't had any issues with the car since we bought it. When we bought it, we got them to change the timing belt, the oil filter and the cabin filter, and obviously the oil. Since then, all we've done is basically do an oil change at Autobacks here, so nothing fancy. There is a tiny little leak from the power steering hose on the front. I'll see if I can show you that. It's not a big issue. I think there may be a leak coming out of the crankcase as well, but again, not a major problem at the moment. Could be a bigger issue later on. Anyway, let's have a look in the engine bay. Nice little bonnet scoop. Quite like that, actually. If I can find the release. Alright, so I've got a cute little intercooler there. It is a 4-cylinder. I thought it was a 3-cylinder for some silly reason. So it is a 4-banger. You can't really see that. That's the turbo downpipe there, and the manifolds are on the other side. And there's a bunch of heat shielding, obviously, on the downpipe. What that is, it looks a bit gunky. Whatever that is there, it's probably some crap that's leaked through from the bonnet scoop and then run down the back of the engine. So yeah, it's a pretty cool little setup. There's quite a lot of room in here considering how small the engine bay is, actually. I have had to top up the power steering fluid, but that's mainly because there is a tiny leak in the hose. Not sure if you can see it from up here. Apart from that, there hasn't really been any issues with this car. Steering's a bit creaky on when you do dry turning, so I'd imagine that's probably related to the leak from the power steering pump. Comes with this little side mirror. I'm pretty sure in Japan that's for trying to, if you were doing parallel parking, I think you're trying to line up the line of the gutter with the wheel. So it can be handy for that, but it does look a bit odd. When we bought this, I'm pretty sure they've done a respray on the engine bay and the rest of the car as well. because it does look quite, how should I put it, like it's had a bit of maintenance done on it. I don't think a car of this age would be that clean inside the engine bay generally, and around the rest of the car. So there's a few little dings here. They're already there when we bought it, so it doesn't really bother me that much. We've got new summer tyres on here. I say new, they're about 6 months old. What are they? These are Dunlop Grand Trek PT3s, 175 by 80 by R15s, and they're really good. I haven't had any issues with the tyres, which is surprising because I don't usually like Dunlops. I find them to be really hard and crap, but these ones have been really good. When we bought the car, it had snow tyres on it, and if you're not using studless snow tyres in the snow and you're just driving on the road, they are not ideal. The handling was really bad. There was a lot of vibration through the steering wheel. Wasn't particularly good. You can see under here it's a little bit rusty, but in general it definitely looks like it may have been resprayed at some point. We did have to change the rear shocks out because they were a bit clunky, so I'm presuming they were the original shocks that came on the car. So in the back here, there's quite a lot of space. Obviously these seats fold up. So you've got 2 passenger seats in here with the headrests. I've got them folded down now because it's just easier to put stuff in the back of the car. There's also a little compartment here. Nothing major in here. Got some old jumper leads out of my wife's father's car, just in case, because he's got an electric car and I don't think he'll be using them. Haven't needed to use them anyway. Inside. So these are Recaro seats. They're quite a lot of padding on the sides. They're actually really pretty comfortable. I always find with Recaros, I used to have them in my WRX, I always find that my butt sinks a bit too far here, so I usually get a little cushion and put that there, but that's personal preference. For some reason, every car in Japan comes with one of these safety flares, so if you have an accident, I guess you're supposed to put that out on the road. There's an airbag in there, an airbag in the steering wheel, and that's pretty much it for safety features, I guess. It's pretty basic, but I mean, I like basic. Basic is good. You see the shocks there. Well, pretty much pretty clean onto there too. So overall, there's quite a lot of clearance. Quite a lot of ground clearance anyway. So it's a good little car. Let's take her for a spin. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to go off-road yet. I would have liked to have done some off-roading in the car, but we just didn't really have time or the chance. So I can't really make any comments about off-roading in it, but generally, from what I've read, they're really good off-road and on-road. I haven't had any issues with it. It does get a little bit buzzy if you're on the highway. Say sitting at 100 k's, you're probably going to sit at about 3,500 to 4,000 RPMs, which can be a bit unsettling if you've never driven a K car, but doesn't really have any issues there. You can get up to 110, or even if you want to push it to 120, but I wouldn't really go any further than 120 in this, just because I don't want to tax the engine any more than I need to. You could do it, but I don't know why you would want to. It came with this pretty okay navigation system, but whoever put it in did it in a real dumb, dickish way, and it's basically this cable here comes back down and then comes out onto the, I guess it's onto the transmission cover here, and then it's just plugged into the cigarette lighter, which, if you're going to do this, why wouldn't you just connect it to the internal wiring instead of having a cable coming out? I don't know. Someone's obviously done that themselves. We also put an ETC card reader in here. That's for going onto the toll road. So you chuck your little ETC card inside here. It'll make a dinging noise, which basically says the card's inserted. And then if you go through the toll booth on the highway, it should automatically detect your card, because there's a little sensor up here that I I think it must be wireless or Bluetooth. I'm not sure what the signal is, but the toll booth gate will read it, and then the toll booth will essentially open and you just go straight through. Right, well, we're just gonna do a little bit of driving, nothing that incredible. A little bit of a turn around here. Nice little country road. See what I mean about that gear shift? It's a bit, I don't know, I just don't like it personally. I mean, I love manual cars and my previous car was a manual, so I'm not a big fan of autos in general, but I definitely don't like the feel of this. So she putts along pretty good. I would not get a non-turbo version, let's just put it that way. I think a non-turbo version would just have no guts at all and would just be horrible. So that was one thing when we were looking at a car. I said if we're going to get a K car and it's going to be like this, it needs to be a turbo, because otherwise it's going to be too slow. So just for general driving day to day around town, this is a really good car. It's quite compact. Obviously only a two-door, but plenty of space in the back when you put the seats down. It's got plenty of putt just around town between, say, I don't know, 0 to 80's fine, which is most of the time what you're doing. It does sound a little bit revvy, I have to say, but it doesn't have any issues, you know, humming along at 4,000 RPMs. So it redlines at 9,000, but yeah, I very rarely do that. Like I said, with these new summer tyres on there, she handles a lot better than it did with the winter tyres. They were just quite abysmal. It's a bit of a pattern in Japan for people to sell you, especially a four-wheel drive with winter tyres on it, because I think winter tyres are cheaper, so they pull off the summer tyres and chuck on winter tyres because they probably have them floating around. So I guess that's why you end up with winter tyres and have to go and buy your own summer tyres. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. Yeah, brakes are good, no complaints there. The suspension is a bit bouncy, I will say that, but this being my first four-wheel drive, I'm not sure if that's just common in general with four-wheel drives. My previous car was a WRX STI, and it definitely was not what I would call bouncy. It was quite stiff. This, however, does tend to boing up and down on some bumps. I think mainly at speed as well. I don't like going over big dips in this car at high speeds because it just does not feel very nice. And everything tends to go BAM when it hits the ground again. So yeah, those creepy mannequins are pretty common around here. Brakes, pretty good. Discs on the front, drums on the rear. I mean, you're not going to be, if you were hammering the brakes really hard, I guess you would have issues, but I don't know why you would be doing that in this car anyway. It's not really designed for that. Road noise, I mean, even with these Dunlops, you still get quite a bit of road noise. I have to say that the feeling through the steering wheel and the vibration's a lot less than it was with the winter tyres on there. Yeah, I like the steering wheel. It's comfortable. I like the colour. It's nice. It looks quite good actually, especially with the bonnet scoop. It looks kind of tough with that little intercooler in the turbo. So as I mentioned, it's a 660cc 4-cylinder. It's not very big. Fuel mileage is not what I would call spectacular, which I was surprised by. So we probably fill up once a week. And we'd be maybe down to, what would I say? Not empty, but maybe, let's say 3/4 empty. And we probably put about 40 or 50 bucks in. So it's not ideal. I think I read online somewhere it was about 10 or 11 litres per 100 kilometres. So it's not great. It's not that bad either. I thought it would be better for a K car, to be honest. I mean, especially considering the engine's a bit smaller capacity-wise, I would think that the fuel consumption would be less, but not so much. Could be an issue with maybe the injectors might need cleaning, or I know the spark plugs actually probably do need changing, because we did have one instance where the car wouldn't start, and I think it was just the spark plugs were a bit dirty, and cranked it over a few times and eventually it did, so it must have just burned off whatever was stuck on them. Now, this is quite a windy road. All you watching might get a bit car sick, sorry. Watch out for leaves scattered on this road actually. So yeah, there's quite a lot of these twisty roads like this. You do have to be careful with people coming the opposite direction. Sometimes don't like slowing down. So handling wise, she's pretty good. For quite a tall car, she's pretty nimble. Obviously it's quite compact as well. So for these back roads and even smaller roads in Japan, this is really handy. Obviously you have quite a lot of space in the back when you put the seats down, so if you do need to put anything on there, then you can. The roof racks, you could put a tray on, so if you were going off-roading or something, that'd be handy, because you could put a tray on the roof and then have more space for storage and stuff. I would have liked to have done that eventually later. If we were going to stay here for longer, I'd probably put a tray or something up there. Oh, there's one on the fence, and there's another one poking out in there. No. So, hello. Ooh, that's a big one. Whoa! These big nads bouncing around as well. Oh, there's another one up there. So yeah, there's quite a few. Right, let us see if we can have some fun in four-wheel drive mode. Okay, so that is 4 low, I hope, and then we'll shift back down into drive. Yep, definitely feel more tyres moving. Bang there, let's have a little go up here. Oh yeah, not bad. A little bit of movement. Oh, there's a bit of a dip here. Obviously it should be fine, but yeah, no issues there. I don't know if this is a quarry or someone's private property, but whatevs, just passing through. I mean, this is pretty basic, not really that much uneven ground here. Still, I mean, obviously you've got the ground clearance if you do need to do something a bit more drastic. It definitely seems fine, and these obviously are not off-road tyres either. These are standard road tyres, so I wouldn't be going through anything too crazy. She definitely doesn't feel like she's having any issues with this though. Pretty fine, a-okay. Go around that big digger. No problemo, my friends. No issues there at all. You could tackle way worse than that, I would think. I mean, look, why don't we go down here? This doesn't even look that bad, but again, just for shits and giggles. Probably go up that bridge if I wanted to. I don't think you're supposed to. Again, no issues. Obviously some sticks and shit in the back. Yeah, so we'll get out of here. Past that Delica. Look, not a problem. I mean, I could do some donuts here if I really wanted to, but I think we'll refrain from that. Try not to hoon too much. Put her back in, shift it back down to 4 high. I do have, I don't know if you have to push her to get her, so that's 4 low. I would presume that's 4 high. I'm not sure how you get it into 2 high then. Oh wait, sorry, we might have been in 4 high instead of 4 low. So that's 4 high, push down 4 low, back into 4 high, back into 2 high. 2 high. Yeah, I think of something else when I say 2 high, but anyway. Again, no issues there. Handle's good. Right. I don't think there's anything else really. It's got some HID headlights in it, or LED headlights. I can't. There might be LEDs, so they're definitely aftermarket. Whoever's had the cars change the headlights, so they're quite bright. Not really any other features. Overall, a good little car. If you were going to do some off-roading on the weekend, this would be fine. If you're going to go to the shops every day, this will be fine. You can drive it on the highway, like I said. You'll be turning over about 4,000 RPMs in whatever top gear is in this, sitting at about 100 Ks, 110. You'll be fine. Overtaking's a bit of a pain, obviously, unless you want to hammer down on the accelerator, but even then, even with the turbo, overtaking other cars on the highway in this is a bit... I wouldn't say it's not doable. You can definitely do it, but I wouldn't do it all the time.